All right, okay. So today we're really going to dive deep. We're looking into maybe the oldest question, what actually happens after we die? Our guide for this is, well, ancient wisdom, specifically chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes called Akshara Brahma Yoga. The mission really is to try and lift that veil between life and death. We'll explore eternity, remembrance, the path, and this core idea, which is pretty amazing, that remembering the divine right at the end could be a way to actually transcend death itself.
And it's just fascinating, isn't it, how these aren't new questions. They really cut across all of human history, all cultures, still resonate today. Arjuna's questions, which kind of kick things off here, they're very relatable. They're probably questions you've had yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Arjuna starts off, he's the seeker for us in this chapter. He's asking these huge fundamental things like, okay, what is Brahman, the absolute? And what about karma? What's Adhyatma, the soul? And maybe the biggest one, what's the whole point of life and death anyway? He's really pushing for those deep answers.
Right. And Krishna, well, he doesn't shy away. He jumps right in with some foundational answers. He defines Brahman first, says it's the imperishable, the unchanging truth behind, well, everything, the ultimate reality.
Imperishable. Okay.
Then there's Adhyatma, that's the soul, the individual self, described almost like a reflection of Brahman, that eternal spark inside each of us.
Reflection. Interesting. And karma. How does that fit in?
Well, karma here is defined maybe a bit differently than we sometimes think. It's the act of offering life into matter, the creative force of our actions, the energy we put out.
Oh, okay. So less about just consequences and more about the conscious act itself.
Precisely. It's the consciousness you bring to what you do when you engage with the world.
Got it. That makes sense. Now, there's this part you mentioned, this great promise. It sounds pivotal. Krishna says, whoever remembers me at the time of death attains my nature of this, there is no doubt. I mean, that's a huge claim. What does that really mean for someone, living a normal, busy life today?
It is huge. And it raises that question, right? Can you just, live any way you want and then have one good thought at the end?
Yeah, exactly. Like last minute cramming for the ultimate exam.
Yeah. Well, the Gita actually addresses that directly. It adds this crucial layer. It says, and this is key, whatever one remembers at the end of life, that alone they attain because of constant preoccupation with it.
Ah, okay. So there's a because.
Right. The keys is everything. It suggests our life is the preparation. You cultivate that remembrance daily. You live with that awareness so that thinking of the divine at the end isn't forced. It's just where your mind naturally goes.
So it's about the trajectory of your consciousness throughout life, not just a single moment in isolation.
Exactly. It's the result of a lifetime's focus, a lifetime's practice, essentially.
That makes much more sense. And it seems it's not just a mental thing either. There's a practical, almost technical aspect described. Something about a yogic technique right at the moment of death.
Yes, there is. It describes the yogi, someone deeply practiced, aiming to consciously manage their departure. It involves controlling the life force, the prana, fixing the mind, focusing it intensely, often mentioned as between the eyebrows, and chanting Om, that primordial sound, with complete devotion, aiming to merge into the eternal.
Wow. So even in dying, there's this idea of focus, calm, surrender, an intentional act.
A very intentional act, a final mastery, you could say. And this leads into another really interesting concept presented here, the idea of two paths after death.
Two paths. Okay, what are they?
There's the bright path, the path of light, sometimes called Shukla Gati. Those who take this path, the text says, they don't return. They achieve liberation. This is for the yogis, the wise, the devoted.
So return, so freed from the cycle.
Correct. Then there's the dark path, the path of smoke, Krishna Gati. Those on this path, they are reborn. They come back to the world of karma, back into the cycle of birth and death.
Back for another round, essentially.
Essentially, yes. To continue working through their karma, it really makes you think, doesn't it? The implications of these two potential destinies, based on one's life and state of mind at death. What path are your actions and thoughts leading you towards now?
That really puts our daily life into perspectives. Every thought, every action potentially steering us.
Yeah.
And all of this, both paths, the practice, the remembrance, it's all pointing towards an ultimate goal, right? You mentioned liberation, moksha.
Yes, that's the ultimate aim described, moksha. As the Gita puts it, great souls who reach me do not return to this temporary world of suffering. They attain ultimate perfection.
Ultimate perfection. An end to suffering, an end to the cycle. An end to forgetting who we truly are, maybe.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about remembering and realizing that eternal nature, that Adhyatma, fully, breaking free from the loop.
So when you look at the whole chapter, the Gita's perspective on death isn't fearful then.
Not at all, actually. It's quite pragmatic almost. It sees death simply as a transition. A significant one, obviously, but a transition nonetheless. The whole emphasis is on living life with awareness, with remembrance, so that transition can be made consciously, fearlessly.
Living with remembrance, to die without fear, that's powerful. So maybe the final thought for you listening right now is this. If that last thought, shaped by a lifetime of thoughts, really does set the course for what comes next, what kind of daily practices, what kind of reflections could you bring into your life starting today to cultivate maybe a more intentional, more fearless life, and ultimately perhaps a more meaningful transition whenever that time comes, something to definitely carry with you and ponder?